I don't know how many of you have been following this rapper story, this rapper mogul who appears by all measurements to be maybe worse than Jeffrey ever was. Whether it was, spending time with people that were too young, whether it was spending time with people who didn't want to be there, locking them up, forcing them to do all sorts of stuff. Hollywood has remained completely silent. What does that tell me? That tells me that there is a lot of them on various lists. There are a lot of them on whatever particular freak off videos that might exist. In fact, allegedly, there's one for sale right now featuring Justin Bieber, Drake, and more. Although the price tag seems a little suspect. But I do think it's an extraordinarily interesting, based on the fact that nobody is saying anything, how many people in Hollywood are probably going to be on this list. And we're going to get into that after a super quick word from this video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Shout out to this video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Look, it's 2024. If you aren't using a VPN yet, you're completely missing out. And Private Internet Access is the one I use on all of my devices. If you've been following the news, you see that censorship, websites, apps are getting shut down in certain countries, all sorts of craziness. Well, a VPN helps you never have to worry about that. Private Internet Access also protects you from the prying eyes of hackers, internet service providers, and others that can view your personal data. Perhaps also just as importantly, Private Internet Access allows you to access region-restricted content from all over the world. Streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and more have different library options based on where you're located, and some shows simply cannot be accessed if you're not in the target location. Happens to me all the time. Many sports events also have regional blackouts. Well, VPNs can be a convenient way to make sure you're getting the content that you're paying for. Private Internet Access also allows you to protect an unlimited amount of devices all at the same time, so your entire household with a single subscription. And I've been working with Private Internet Access so long that I have an absolutely massive discount available to my viewers. Link in the description below. Get Private Internet Access today using my link. Save huge, protect your computers, access all the content that you've been paying for, and ensure that your internet is never censored. Let's start with some of the most recent news. Mr. Combs made women hook up with guests, just like Jeffrey, at parties, and says a dancer who wants him jailed for life. Now, as I've said, I will reiterate, it is my belief that this individual, Mr. Combs, is a burned federal asset. I can't prove that. I'm not saying it as a fact. I'm just saying that's my opinion. It's my opinion that he is a burned federal asset, and all those tapes that nobody denies exists will never be released to the public. You know who has it? The FBI. The FBI will instead use what's on those tapes to make people do things that they don't want to do. Endorse political candidates that they don't want to endorse. All sorts of things like that. That's how this stuff works. There's a new book that came out that made some shocking claims. Mr. Combs spent time with young boys and famous pop stars and made tapes. Shocking claims in Kim Porter's book. Now, Kim Porter was with Mr. Combs before mysteriously passing away from influenza at 47 years old. I know there are a lot of people that see this and think, oh, I don't care. I don't care about this. I don't care. Look, there's a lot of other news topics, and we'll talk about them all today. There's a lot of other important stuff going on in the world, but this is kind of important too. Talking about, young people getting forced into various situations. I think that there's a lot of, there's a lot of questions around Bieber and many other people. This book from his ex-girlfriend or ex-wife or whatever it is said that he kept a diary and that she saved on a flash drive and gave to friends before passing away, using the pseudonym Jamal T. Millwood, published diary entries as a book, which have now become available on Amazon. All you have to do is pay for it to fight for justice. In the tell-all book, she described discovering and copying tapes of Mr. Combs that he had made himself hooking up with somebody who wasn't old enough, and it was a boy, including a tape with a 18-year-old pop star who later became famous. For unversed Todd, that had not provided any evidence to substantiate these claims. So she's not around anymore. She's only making this claim in a book. We haven't seen the evidence. In the book, she claims to have discovered many tapes of Mr. Combs' encounters in his bedroom vault and planned to make copies for herself to protect herself against any potential backlash when she left him. However, she was shocked to see that male-on-male parties are one thing, but the young ones, like two hip-hop stars formerly managed by Diddy, and this other pop star, I would have never known. So according to his ex-girlfriend, there were these wild parties. You know, Cat Williams was right. Then she died of influenza. What if, potentially, the feds had some dirt on him and turned him into an informant? You know, oh, we know that you drowned her or something. They had some sort of dirt on him, turned him into an informant, so it kept all these tapes. Why are all these people keeping all these tapes, by the way? Jennifer Lopez, seen enjoy some cozy time with ex Mr. Combs at one of his, quote, parties, has now resurfaced in a photo amid his charges. I would be willing to bet that this may be very closely related to her and Ben Affleck's breakup. I'm going to guess, Now, just because somebody was at that party, that doesn't mean that they were engaging in any kind of illegal activity. You see, Khloe Kardashian recalled seeing Justin Bieber at Diddy party where half the people were completely in their birthday suits. I don't know how old Bieber was at that time, but I mean, I got a plane at 5:30 a.m. Half the people were completely in their birthday suits. You would have loved it, she told Courtney in the resurfaced video. All the people now trying to come out and virtue signal, they were at these parties too. That's why Hollywood hasn't said anything. Now, this is an unsubstantiated report. Some person claimed that Diddy sold the controversial video for $500 million on the dark web, featuring high-profile celebrities. I don't buy this. Why would somebody pay $500 million for that? If it was a more reasonable number, like $5 million, maybe, possibly, who has made several previous explosive accusations against a now disgraced rapper, discussed the implications of the sale in a recent interview, suggesting that Diddy might be in desperate need of cash. She also named high-profile celebrities featured in the tapes, allegedly, so there's no evidence to suggest the stars were involved in any wrongdoing. The last, quote, freak-off tape that just got sold on the darknet, which I monitored, went for $500 million, Wright said in a recent interview, which is going viral on social media. The singer and songwriter was asked if Diddy was trying to protect his people or his friends are protecting him. Quote, he's selling it because he needs the cash, he said, referring to an event in Calabasas where he allegedly captured questionable moments. Mr. Combs, currently detained in a Brooklyn jail on various charges, would have these freak-off parties emerging during his trial, which resulted in his denial of bail. Well, of course, nobody believes he's going to make it to trial. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I don't know. You have stories of Usher scrubbing his entire Twitter account, then coming back and saying, well, hey guys, it was just hacked. I don't know. Now Leonardo DiCaprio finally breaks his silence on hanging out with Mr. Combs as pictures emerge of him partying with him numerous times. I'm sure he will Leonardo DiCaprio in his late 50s, who notoriously likes to date women who are just barely 18, while legal, questionable, said, a source close to the actor said he hadn't had anything to do with Mr. Combs for years. What does that have to do with it? That doesn't mean he wasn't at his various freak-off parties. The Great Gatsby actor was also seen dancing beside Combs at his 50th birthday in 2019. Leonardo DiCaprio has absolutely nothing to do with any of this, the source said. He attended a few parties back in the early 2000s, but literally everyone did. I don't know, I didn't. They were not freak-offs. They were big house parties. Leo was at the start of his career at the time and has moved way past his partying. He has nothing to do with anything in that world. So far as anyone will assume, will get roped into this based on a few grainy photos that are more than 20 years old is ridiculous. Leo is focused on his career and his relationships and is not at all thinking at all about Diddy's federal case, which he has nothing to do with. I mean, that's a pretty strong denial. And again, I will say, just because you were pictured or just because you might have been at one of these parties, that does not necessarily mean you are taking part in any of these, freak-offs or whatever they were. I continue to believe, this is a man that, the guy is basically indefensible. Let us not forget the guy was caught on hotel camera, absolutely going sicko mode on his girlfriend. I think, people like LeBron James spent a lot of time with him, haven't said anything about it. I don't know. Do you have to come out and disavow? I don't know. I don't think that should be a requirement. But Hollywood is awfully quiet. The cracks are starting now. Some Hollywood people are coming out and saying, I've had nothing to do with this. I had nothing to do with it. I suspect we are going to see dozens and dozens and dozens of these creepazoids getting outed. Dozens and dozens and dozens of these people being absolutely outed and participating in this stuff, particularly in the rap world. A lot of the men being revealed that they got busted open at his parties in exchange for record deals, giving up that booty to get record deals. Much, much more will be revealed here. Now, some of those men probably did it willingly. Much of them probably did it willingly. We'll see if he survives till his trial. I'm going to say it's extremely doubtful.